Hey guys, I'm so excited to be with you again today, and I want to let you know that we will be opening up children's ministry here at church on July 19th during the 9:45 and the 11 a.m. services. So hopefully we'll see some of you here, and if not, that's okay too. If some of you still want to stay at home, we're going to keep making the videos for a little while so you can watch from home. All right, now we're going to say our verse, so go ahead and stand up or get your hands ready, and let's do 2 Corinthians. Ready? 2 Corinthians 5:17. All right, two thumbs. If anyone belongs to Christ, he is a new person. The old life is gone, and the new life has begun. Remember, it looks like a car starting. 2 Corinthians 5:17. All right, one more time. 2 Corinthians 5:17. If anyone belongs to Christ, he is a new person. The old life is gone, and the new life has begun. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Good job. All right, today we're going to be learning that Jesus heals. And I was thinking about when I was a little girl, an injury that I had one time. My good friend and I decided to go roller skating in her garage, and so we were having a lot of fun because the garage has that nice smooth concrete, and so we had on our roller skates and we were just having a great time. And then we decided, hey, you know what? This might be more fun if we took a water hose and we wet down the cement. Maybe we would go faster. So can you guess what happened when we wet down the cement? Well, if you guessed that we fell, you would be right. We did go faster, but we went really fast, and I fell forward and I busted open my head, and I had to go home, and there was a lot of blood, and my parents had to take me to the emergency room, and I had to get stitches and a special butterfly band-aid on my forehead, and it took a little while to heal, but it did heal. And that time God used doctors to heal during that time. But today, right now I want you guys to pause your videos. Go ahead and pause, and I want you to talk about a time when you had an injury, or somehow you got hurt, or a scar. Maybe you have a scar and you can still see it. Maybe you can see your scar. You can still see mine. All right, so go ahead and pause your video right now and talk about that. All right, so today in our Bible time, we're going to be reading out of the book of Luke, and we're going to be hearing about some people that Jesus healed. All right, so get out your Bibles and open to Luke chapter 4.
All right, so hi kids. It's good to be with you, and I've got Tipper with me today, and if you notice, there's something different. There's always something a little different. I'm in a wheelchair, and Tipper, believe it or not, we're training together because he's a service dog, and he's going to go to a person with a disability, and it could be somebody in a wheelchair, and so he needs to learn how to walk nicely around with a person in a wheelchair. So Tipper, can you sit? Sit? Yes, good boy. No, that's not a sit. Sit. You sit? Yes, good boy. Right? Right? That's not quite it. Okay. Right? Yes, good boy. Good right. Right. So, now, what are wheelchairs for? Who needs a wheelchair? Okay, I'm sure you've all seen wheelchairs before. A person in a wheelchair is a person who can't walk or has difficulty walking. And today's story is about how Jesus heals. When I started training Tipper, and I needed to be in a wheelchair to help train him, it made me realize how hard it is to not walk, and to go across a parking lot and go through a door and feel like I've got to have somebody help me all the time. It really changed my world. And you feel different, you feel like you're not as strong and independent, and you feel kind of lonely too. And Jesus healed people that's how they must have felt, because when you're sick and when you're hurting, and he healed people who were blind, who couldn't see, he healed people who couldn't walk, he healed lepers, and we'll talk about that. But all those people, they were usually, they couldn't hold a job because they weren't strong and they didn't have good, strong bodies back in those days. And because they couldn't hold a job, a lot of times the only way they could make a living was by sitting on a street in the town and begging for money. And that would have to be very, that wouldn't make you feel very proud of yourself to do that, to be asking people for money or for food. You would need help to get around. And they didn't have wheelchairs back in those days, so you would have to have a crutch, or you'd have to have somebody carry you. And so they were usually really poor and very lonely. And but Jesus loved those people, and he took time out of his busy life and all his preaching and teaching to heal those who were sick and who couldn't walk and who couldn't see. So we're going to read today out of Luke chapter 4. And so the verse that we're going to read is verse 40. Okay, and it said, so it's talking about Jesus, and he's going around with his disciples, and he's a preacher and he's a teacher. And it said, at sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying his hands on each one, he healed them. Wow. So they would bring a whole bunch of people. They'd carry them in, because again, remember, maybe they're blind and couldn't see, they couldn't walk. They would carry them in and they would set them before Jesus, and he would lay his hands on them, and poof, they would be like healed. And you can imagine what a change in their life that would be, to be like everybody else, to be normal. Okay? So how wonderful was that? So there's lots and lots of stories in the Gospels about all the different people that Jesus healed from all different kinds of things. And the one I'm going to talk about is a man, and it was in the area of Galilee. Remember, that's where Jesus grew up, and a lot of his disciples, his fisher buddies, were from Galilee. And he was walking down the street one day, and with all this big crowd of people around him, and here's this man, and he had a disease called leprosy. And leprosy, of just about all the things that you could, all the sicknesses that you could have as a Jew, this was probably the worst, the absolute worst. I don't know if you can see, but in the pictures it shows he's got bandages around his face, he's got bandages on his hands, he's got a crutch. Well, what that means is he can't walk well. And so it starts as a sore, and then they multiply, and it becomes more and more sores all over you. And the sores actually eat away at your body, and it's horrible, horrible, because of course you don't look nice anymore, and it can even eat away fingers and toes, and eventually you die from it. And the Jews were very, very afraid of it. You know, it's funny because we're so scared right now about COVID and getting, we don't want to, spread the disease or spread the germs for COVID. Well, they were terrified of spreading the disease of leprosy. And so the Jews had laws, and if you were a leper, then you would have to announce as you walked around, you'd have to yell out, unclean, unclean. And what that means is stand back from me, don't come near me. Can you imagine walking through life like that, where everybody, and of course the people are like, ew, look at he looks so gross and sores, and stay away from him. And so everybody's got this yucky look on their face every time they look at you. What a horrible life that must be. And of course they couldn't have a job. They couldn't live in town. They had to live like camp out on the outskirts of town. It was a terrible, terrible disease. And here's a man, so this man has come to Jesus and he says, Lord, can you heal me of my leprosy? And I don't know if you can see the people behind him, but they're all going, ew, we don't even want to look at him. And we certainly don't want to get near him. But Jesus loved this man. And he felt bad for him. I'm sure he could understand, if anybody, the Son of God, could understand what kind of a life he had. And he reached out to him and he touched him, which is just unthinkable for them to do that. And miraculously, he was healed. He was healed of his leprosy. And Jesus also said, it was really interesting because Jesus would say this when he would heal somebody. He said, your faith has made you well. And what that means is, it isn't anything you did except that you believe that I could heal you. And that's what Jesus asks of us. He asks that we believe. We believe in him, that he is the Son of God, and that he can do great things. So here's a picture of him now, and of course, there's people around him, and he's unwrapping his bandages, and it's like, hey, I have my fingers back. I can imagine how great that would be to have your fingers back. And his face is all smooth. There's no sores on his face. And Jesus told him one thing. He's all excited. He wants to go just yelling through town about how Jesus healed him. And Jesus said, don't share this with anybody. I just want you to go to the priest. Let's read that part in here. It's it's around verse 14 or 15. Let's see. Oh, and it's chapter 5. Sorry, we're switched to the next chapter. So chapter 5. So Jesus reached out his hand. This is verse 13. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said. Be clean. And immediately the leprosy left him. Then Jesus ordered him, don't tell anyone, but go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them. Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. So Jesus heals. He healed the leper. He healed many, many people in the Bible. And he also heals us. I'm going to share a very quick story with you. I poked my eye with a stick, not on purpose, but accidentally. I was walking in the woods and I leaned over and a stick went up past my glasses and hit my eye, and it hurt so bad. This was last night. It hurt so bad, and this morning when I got up, my eye was watering and I was weeping, and it hurt so bad. And I made an appointment to go to see the doctor. So Tipper and I went to the doctor, and we got in there, and my eye hurt really bad, and and of course you have to wait to be called. And I was praying, and I said, Jesus, I had been praying. I prayed after I poked my eye, but I prayed in the morning. But it was like, no, my eye still hurt. Well, I sat in the waiting room, and I prayed a little more. And then after a while, I was like, my eye feels pretty good. I would blink it. So anyway, I walked up to the receptionist. I said, would it be okay if I canceled my appointment? And she looks at me, and I said, because my eye feels better. And she goes, well, sure. Now, it was really cool because Jesus healed me. I mean, I really feel like he did, and I give him the credit for that. But sometimes he doesn't heal us. when we pray. But I still think it's a good idea to pray. It's up to Jesus. It's his decision whether he heals us or not. We have to leave that up to him, but it's always a good idea to pray. Well, anyway, so that's it for this week. It was great talking with you guys. Bye.
Hey guys, all right, we are to our object lesson time. And so I have here is a broken heart. And we've been talking about how Jesus heals, right? And there's different kinds of things that are broken in our lives that need healing. So maybe, I have some different colored paper here. Blue represents broken hearts or something that's sad. And so maybe you have something that makes you really sad and it's broken and you need Jesus to heal that. And I'm gonna take a glue dot and I'm gonna stick that blue color on our heart. And yellow, today yellow is gonna represent broken bones. Have you ever broken a bone? I know that I have 3 sons, and my son Noah has broken many bones. My other 2 sons never had any broken bones, but Noah has had a broken arm, he's had a broken wrist, a broken elbow, a broken hand, had a broken foot. So maybe you've had some broken bones that you need God to heal. And then the red, that one is going to represent broken relationships. Sometimes there are things that happen where people move away, people that we love or that we're really close with, maybe even somebody in our family, and they don't live with us anymore, and so it feels like a broken relationship. So I'm going to put some red on there, okay? And I'm going to take a second and I'm going to finish up my heart, and then I want you to see what it looks like when I'm done. All right? So this, what we would pause. Okay, try to go fast. Oops. All right. Good enough. And then I'm gonna tape it. Together. All right. Alright, so you can see that something that was broken, now it's put back together, and it's really kind of beautiful. All the different colors. You can see, have you ever seen stained glass windows where they're made out of broken glass sometimes? And they have a lot of different colors, and it's just beautiful. And that's what God does with the hurts in our lives and the brokenness, whether it's sad hearts or broken relationships or broken bones. He can take that and he can turn it into something beautiful. And that's called our story. We have a story to tell, and we share it with other people to tell them, what did Jesus do in our lives? Just like Miss Jenny shared with you how Jesus healed her eye. And so I know many of you have stories about how Jesus has been faithful to you and helped you. I know I do. And I like it when I get to tell those stories. So my activity for you at home this week is to grab, I bet everybody has these at your house, to grab some Band-Aids. Do you guys have Band-Aids at your house? We have a lot of Band-Aids at our house. So grab some Band-Aids and get out one Band-Aid for each person in your family, and get out a marker. And this is just a fun way to remember how to pray for somebody who needs healing this week, okay? So you take out the Band-Aid and you write on there somebody's name. And I wrote on my Band-Aid the name Randy, and that's my stepdad. And he's been really sick lately, and it's been hard for him to do his job well. And so then what you do after you write the name on the Band-Aid is you stick it somewhere. I'm gonna stick it on my hand, and then every time that you look at that, it reminds you all day to pray for that person. So that's kind of fun. Just a fun way to remember somebody who needs healing right now. All right, and thank you guys for listening, and we love you, and we are praying for you, praying that Jesus will meet you where you are and bring healing to all your hurts. All right, bye-bye.